Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
July 18, 2020, the Tribute to John Lewis edition. And we begin with that story as civil rights leader John Lewis died. He had been on the front lines of the civil rights movement literally his entire life. He spent the 60s starting with SNCC and then later was elected to Congress. He was part of the team that rallied support around the civil rights legislation from the 60s. He was one of the key organizers of the 1963 rally, which led to the I Have a Dream speech. He was labeled as one of the big 6 of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. He was clearly a great leader, helping to get the Voting Rights Act passed, the 1964 Civil Rights Act passed. His work in Congress for civil rights continued. He was the last remaining speaker from the 1963 Washington Conference where Dr. King gave the I Have a Dream speech. He was at the Edmund Pettus Bridge and was severely beaten and attacked by dogs of the government of Alabama at the time. So John Lewis dedicated his life to civil rights. We can all learn from him. Obviously, at this point in time, we need more people like John Lewis, and he will be sorely missed. So farewell to John Lewis, great American, a great advocate of civil rights, and I hope others will continue his work. Next up, the Trump administration is quickly moving to lose all of the preteen and teen votes as they are weighing a ban on TikTok due to its ongoing trade war with China. The White House is considering putting TikTok on a blacklist that would effectively prevent Americans from using the app. The inanity of that by the Trump administration is only overshadowed by their stupidity. But they obviously don't care about the preteen or teen vote unless, of course, they're white. Finally, or rather next up, if you are a scammer and you are taking money out of ATMs and using that to fund your leisure time, you really shouldn't throw such a bad temper tantrum that the police are called. And that's what happened as a individual who had over 20 aliases and been scamming money for years was finally caught because he threw a temper tantrum at a rental car return. So just showing that if you're going to be a criminal, you have to be a criminal all the time and you have to act the way all the time. Otherwise, you subject yourself to getting arrested and being found out. And finally, from the Wall Street Journal, the sticky wicket the Serious Fraud Office finds itself in around its prosecution of 3 former Unaoil employees gets stickier as it appears that the SFO allowed representatives of the Ashani brothers who pled guilty in the United States to either influence their prosecutions or try to persuade the individuals to waive their rights and go to trial in England. Apparently that's something that the English take very seriously. So more bad news for the SFO. The conduct in America may be de rigueur or par for the course, but apparently not so in the United Kingdom. So it will be interesting to see the fallout for SFO Director Lisa Osofsky. I would say this is not good for her. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Daily Compliance News, which is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio.